Well, as we've been discussing extensively, Monday is a very historic day. Donald Trump, day one of his criminal trial. This is historic given that Trump is a former president and currently a presidential candidate. And he is feeling the heat of the fact that this New York hush money payment trial is starting. And he's tried his very best to delay it through every mechanism that he possibly could, but it's not being delayed. And he is actually going to trial on Monday. And so in desperation, he has lashed out at someone that legally he's not supposed to be lashing out at. So I want to bring in our legal expert, Aaron Parnas, to break down this story for us all. Aaron, what's going on just hours before the beginning of this criminal trial?
Yeah, Luke, this is huge news. So just hours before his or early days before his criminal trial was expected to get started, Donald Trump potentially violated his gag order by putting out on Truth Social a comment about Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen is Donald Trump's former kind of handler, a witness in this case. And let me read you this truth that Donald Trump put out. He said, quote, "Has Mark Pomerantz been prosecuted for his terrible acts in and out of the district attorney's office? Has disgraced attorney and felon Michael Cohen been prosecuted for lying? Only Trump people get prosecuted by this judge and these thugs. A dark day for our country, MAGA 2024. So Luke, the judge in this trial, Judge Merchant, as you know, issued a gag order for Donald Trump. And part of that gag order, Trump was limited to he could not make comments about potential witnesses in the upcoming criminal case, which is scheduled to start on Monday. Michael Cohen is a key part of the criminal case, given the fact that Michael Cohen was the one responsible for coordinating the payments, the hush money payments to Stormy Daniels. And Michael Cohen will be testifying in the case sometime either this week or next week. So this statement is likely in violation of the gag order that Judge Merchant imposed, and it could have devastating impacts for Donald Trump in the courtroom on Monday morning.
Yeah, I can't imagine what we're about to experience. Because we already saw the mayhem of a civil trial for Donald Trump and how he acts and how he goes after all the people involved. A criminal trial where it's not just money on the line potentially, but actually time in prison, his freedom. It's about to get really unhinged. I think this is just the beginning of it. And you've explained before, but explain again for the audience, what would be the potential punishment he could get for obviously doing something against this gag order? Is there even a question? What? Going after a witness?
Yeah, it's nuts. I mean, the potential punishment is anywhere from a fine, like we saw when he violated the gag order in the civil fraud trial, all the way up to potential jail time. Now, I don't know that he'll get jail time for this specific violation because it could be the first violation, right? It's a statement against Michael Cohen, he's had very public political differences with. But I could totally see Judge Merchant throwing a fine at Donald Trump, potentially restricting some of his bond or other restrictions. You could also see Judge Merchant severely admonishing Donald Trump and his team on Monday morning before jury selection begins. Luke, you noted that Donald Trump's attorneys have done literally everything in their power to try to push this trial date. They failed 11 separate times. I mean, your average criminal defendant does not get 11 chances at trying to postpone a trial date. Trump got 11 and lost all 11 opportunities. So they desperately don't want to go to trial on Monday. They desperately don't want to see Judge Merchant. And you're right. I mean, unlike his civil fraud trial where the ultimate penalty was monetary damages, here this is a criminal case. The stakes are much higher. The courtroom and the feel inside the courtroom is going to be substantially different Monday than anything Donald Trump has ever experienced in his life. I've been in a criminal courtroom. I've been in a criminal trial. I've represented individuals in criminal trials. And what's on the line is someone's personal freedom. It's not some money that they would have to pay to a plaintiff. It's potential jail time. And that for Donald Trump has higher stakes than anything he's ever experienced before. So it's going to be a rude awakening for him Monday morning.
Yeah, and explain again, as you have previously, why they're trying to delay so much. The story we've been told from MAGA is that it's so obvious that these are bogus that they're going to crumble once Trump goes in there and is able to defend himself. He's going to be acquitted like that. And so anytime someone references that Trump has been indicted multiple times, the argument in response is, well, these are just indictments, essentially legal allegations, but he's going to be acquitted. So if they were really so confident in that, would they be trying to delay it?
No, they wouldn't. I mean, and I think the reason they're trying to delay is really threefold. First, Donald Trump would rather be on a campaign trail campaigning for president than inside of a courtroom. And this trial is going to last up to a month. So that's number one. That's a month of campaigning away. Number two is, in a lot of ways, this case is probably one of the easiest to prove out of the 4 criminal cases because it's a papers case. It's based on documents. It's based on records, wire transfers, checks. I mean, these are all things, tangible things that a jury could handle, could look at. This is not a case based on circumstantial evidence or potentially even eyewitness testimony. This is a papers case. So it's much stronger than your average criminal case. That's number two. And then number three is Donald Trump, I genuinely think, he thinks could avoid complete liability if he becomes president. But in reality, this is a New York State case, right? This is not a case that can just go away if Donald Trump wins in November. Even if this case were to be postponed past the November election, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg could still pursue the charges because Trump could only theoretically pardon himself in federal cases, not in state cases. But that's the ultimate goal here, is to try to push it past the November election and then to argue, hey, he's president, he can't be tried criminally, and then just postpone it another 4 years. It's going to fail. It already has failed 11 times. This case is moving forward on Monday, whether Donald Trump likes it or not.
Yeah, and is he going to have to be there every single day?
Yes, because this is a criminal trial, Donald Trump's appearance is mandatory unless he is specifically excused by the judge. He will have to be there every single day during testimony, and then ultimately when the jury returns its verdict, he will have to be there. There are very few and limited cases where a criminal defendant is not in the courtroom during trial, and almost all of those cases are where the criminal defendant is, for example, in the hospital and is severely injured. The criminal defendant refuses to leave their jail cell, for example, the morning of the trial. The criminal defendant has a mental or emotional breakdown and the judge excuses them. Those are extremely limited scenarios where in the past the criminal defendant has been excused, but the trial still goes on. And in this case, Donald Trump is going to have to be there every single day.
Wow. Big stuff. We're going to need a lot of Aaron Parnas now that this first criminal trial is starting up. So I'm grateful to have you, Aaron. Where can people find you?
On all my social platforms, just add Aaron Parnas.